what it takes for you to be able to become a front-end web developer or to be able to handle front-end projects. So the previous classes we had touched on Python. So Python mostly is a back-end development language. So today we'll be focusing on front-end development languages, and we'll be seeing basically what it takes for you to be able to create a user interface. So for today's lessons objectives, so we are just going to do 4 things. The first one, basically, we are going to look at front-end web development, just a bit of theory, so that at least we lay a foundation on what front-end web development is. Then I think we had touched on websites and the difference between a website and a web application. Then the second thing that you're going to look at are some of the technologies that we use in front-end web development. And we are going to look at 3 languages, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. But the focus of this class today is HTML. But I'll just highlight a few things on CSS and JavaScript. But we shall come to deal with CSS and JavaScript in depth in the coming classes. The third lesson objective for today is we need to understand, so we'll just get to understand what is HTML and why it is important in front-end web development. Then we'll get to see the basic structure of a HTML document. So we'll just get to write a few lines of code. Then finally, we'll just do a simple practical project. So I hope you're ready. I hope you have your computers. So probably you can also code along as we go on with the lessons. So maybe just before we start, someone can just share with us basically what's the difference between a website and a web application. Who can tell us the difference between a website and a web application? Who remembers the difference between a website and a web application? Yes, Catherine.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, website is static, whereas the web app application is dynamic.
Yes, you're correct. What do we mean by dynamic websites? When you say that a website is dynamic, what do we mean by that? Yes, Brian.
It has many functionalities. For instance, you can input something for it to output the desired outcome from the input you've given it.
Yes, that's correct. Basically, a dynamic website is a website that has functionality and a website that has interactivity. You can be able to interact with it compared to a static website, which does not have a lot of functionality to it. So that's the major difference between a website and a web application. So we can just start basically what is front-end web development. We had touched on the theory of basically what is web development in our first class, and we have the notes. So I'll not really go deep into it so that at least we can be able to save time. So if you still have issues with basically what is web development, you can go and check the first lessons notes. Basically, it's self-explanatory. So today we are going to touch on front-end web development, and basically when we talk about front-end web development, we are referring to the visible part of a website or a web application. Basically, what you are able to interact with as a user. So the front-end part of web development is usually responsible for the user experience. So basically, the experience that you get when you're interacting with a website, when you're, let's say, interacting with an application. So basically, that's what is the front end part of a software or part of a website. So it is the practice of building the part of a website that the user interacts with. So it's usually referred to as the client side. So we usually have two sides to an application or two sides to a system. Can you see my screen? So we usually have two sides to a software or a website. We have the client side, which basically you've said is the front end part of it. And it's what you see, it's what you interact with, and it's what basically you get to experience when you get to access a website or an application. Then we have the server side. Basically, that's the backend side of a software or a website. And basically, that's where the logic of the system usually is. That's where the backend processes that usually work behind the scenes are. That's where probably you'll find the databases, the APIs, things like those. So basically, what you don't get to interact with, but the backend side or the server side is what usually gives a system functionality. So I hope that is clear. So basically, what is the difference between the front end side of a system and the back end? So as we've said, the front end side of a system is the visible part of a website or a web application, which is responsible for the user experience. And it's basically front-end web development. It's the practice of building a website and building the part of a website that a user usually interacts with. So we have three main technologies that you usually use or three main languages that you usually use when building a front-end the front-end part of a system. So we have HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So we'll be just getting to know each one in just a few minutes. Then the backend side. So the difference between the front end and the backend. The backend side of a website is the logical. It's where basically the logic of the system usually is built. It's where the database of where we can be able to find the database and other operations that usually work behind the scenes. So backend, as I had explained earlier, we usually refer to the backend side of a system as the server side of the system. And we have many languages that usually are used to build the backend side of a system. But I think just a few, just if I can just give a few examples. One that we all know is Python, and it's something that you've already started. We have Java, we have PHP, we have Node.js. Of course, there are more than these ones, but these are just examples. In your own time, you can just go and do a bit of research. Basically, what are the languages and what are the frameworks that usually are used to build the backend side of websites or web application. So any question? Anything that is not clear up to there? Okay, so basically, let's just look at the building blocks of front-end web development. Basically, these are the main technologies or these are the main languages that you're going to use to build the front end part of our systems. So the first one is HTML, as I had mentioned earlier, which in full it stands for Hypertext Markup Language. So it is a standard markup language that is used to design the structure of a web page. So basically, HTML is used. Basically, HTML is the backbone of front-end web applications. So basically, it is what we use to what we use to build the structure of a website. But HTML cannot work alone because HTML, in as much as it's very useful, is very limited. And that's why other languages are used to. That's where other languages come into the picture. So we have CSS, which basically in full it means cascading style sheets. So CSS is a styling language, and it's basically used to make our systems to be more visually appealing. So it's just used to, we use it to style our websites and our web applications. And then the third one is JavaScript. So JavaScript is a programming language. So the first one, HTML, is a markup language, and I'll be explaining what a markup language is. CSS is a styling language. So these two, HTML and CSS, are not programming languages. So that's something that you need to take note of. But JavaScript is a programming language, and it's used to add functionality to our system. So, and interactivity to our systems or our web applications. So Brian had said that a dynamic website is a website that you can be able to interact with, and you can be able to have function. It has a bit of functionality to it. So basically, it can be able to accept input from the user. It can be able to give out output. It can be able to do a few manipulations or do a few operations. So that's what makes our websites dynamic. And what usually allows us to make our websites to become dynamic is JavaScript on the front end part of it. But we also have the backend processes. For example, you can use Python to write the logic of your system, but that's now on the backend side. You can use frameworks, for example, like Django, to be able to build your backend side of the system. But because the scope of this lesson today, we are just limited to front end, so I'll not touch so much on backend. So I hope that is clear. So basically, as we are building our websites, you usually start with writing our code in HTML, but it's very basic in such a way that it cannot you cannot be able to create visually appealing systems or websites with just HTML alone. If I can just probably use a basic example, let's use the example of a car. So we can say that HTML probably is the frame of the car or the body of the car. As a car is being built, we usually have that metallic frame that is manufactured at the assembly line. So you can think of HTML as that. Basically, it's just the frame of the car that gives the car structure that when you look at the frame of the car, you can be able to tell where each and everything will be. But that shell of that car, basically, by its own, it cannot do much. So that's where CSS comes in. So CSS, probably, if you can just use that example of a car, probably it's like the paint of the car. So it's what is usually used to make websites appealing. Then JavaScript, you can say it's like the engine of the car or the gearbox of the car. So that's what makes the car to become functional. So without the engine or the gearbox of the car won't be able to move. It won't be able to have power and all that. So that's where JavaScript comes in. So I hope you've understood the differences between HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. But we shall be doing it practically so that we see how each and every language works and the importance of each and every language. Any question so far? Okay, if we do not have any question, so we'll just start on HTML. So basically, what I'm just doing at the moment is just laying the foundation for front-end development with a little theory that will help us just understand what we are doing, so that once we get to the practical and we start writing code, at least we have an idea of what we're doing. So HTML, as I had said earlier, it stands for Hypertext Markup Language, and it is the standard language that is used to create and structure content on the web. So it tells the web browser how to display texts, how to display links, how to display images, and other forms of multimedia on a web page. So anytime that probably you've gone to Google and you've searched for some information, or maybe you want maybe you're searching for a picture, or you are searching for a certain resource, as you are typing whatever you're typing. For example, if you want to know more about Solution Center, you can just go to Google and search RCCG Solution Center. So what you are telling Google is it should go and look for that website, which is RCCG Solution Center. So what Google does, it goes and looks for the HTML document, basically which contains the website for RCCG Solution Center. So as it brings back the request back onto you, so you've given it a request. I want basically to see the website of RCCG. So it spits back a response, and the response is usually in form of a HTML document. So HTML is what is used to structure the website, so that probably when you look at a website, so maybe you can just do it practically. So let's search for RCCG Solution Center. So we've given our browser a request, and already it has returned a response to us. So maybe this is what you want to look at. So once we click on the website, so it has returned, but I think the church website is built on WordPress, but we can just use it as an example. So basically, this is the work of HTML. It tells us where everything should be, and it also gives us the structure of how this web page should be. So for example, it tells us where this logo should be. It tells us where these navigation links should be, where probably this image should be. It basically gives us the layout of this website. So that's what HTML does. But HTML by its own, and we'll just get to see that shortly, it does not create visually appealing websites, and that's where CSS usually comes to play. So CSS it's what is used to make our systems visually appealing and to just improve the look and feel of our systems. So for example, you see like this blue color here, that has been done by CSS. For example, for us to be able to have this navigation links horizontally, that has been this is styling that has been done by CSS for us to be able to have features like this, that you can be able to click on this button, and the navigation links appear on the side. So basically all of this is CSS for you to be able to have this section over here where you have this carousel that has probably a border radius here to make it look visually appealing. So basically all of this is the work of CSS. And finally, for you to be able to just for you to be able to have functionality, for example, if I click here, ideally I should be able to see the last service that, so this is Sunday's service. So functionalities like this, mostly it's usually JavaScript that helps us to have functionality. So for example, when we come and click here on the giving section, if we had automated this system, we could be able to put our credit cards, we could be able to put our M-Pesa numbers. For example, if you want to give an offering, you can just come here, click on this giving button. Then it gives you the process of giving an offering through M-Pesa. So you just put your number, and probably it sends you a prompt where you put your PIN. And after you've put your PIN, then it automatically deducts money from your M-Pesa account or from your bank account. So that process of just ensuring that the logic works is usually done by JavaScript. So why is HTML important? So we've said that it's the core of each and every website. It's basically it's the basic building block of web applications. The second reason why it's important, it works together with CSS and JavaScript to make websites interactive and functional. So up to there, do we have any question? Anything that is not clear? Okay, so for those who have laptops, let's just do it practically. When we do it practically, it usually makes sense. So we'll just quickly create a project that will have, so just go to your GitHub accounts, log into your GitHub accounts. I'll just give you a minute to log in so that we will create a repository, and that will be where our HTML project will be. So I'll just give you a minute so that you can quickly log in into your GitHub accounts. Are we all there? So I'm sure you all remember how to create a new GitHub repository or a new GitHub directory. It's one and the same thing. So you just come here, then you click repository. So you'll come and you give your repository a name. So for example, I'll just give it a name of seed class. Then here on the description box, I'll just write a small description. Our first HTML project. So we say that you can either leave your repository public or private. So I'll just leave it public so everyone can be able to access it. Then I'll just add a README file and create the repository. So already I've created the repository, and I'll just come and clone it to my machine. So you just come, type cmd to open the command line. I hope you can all see my screen. So I want to basically store the project on, I'll just cd to desktop so that I can store the project on the desktop folder. So cd to desktop. I'm already inside desktop. Then I come and I just clone the projects, git clone. Then the project, the project link that you had copied from GitHub, press enter. So it's cloning. If I'm too fast, you can let me know so that I go slower. We've already cloned to our desktop, so we'll just cd into our projects. And we said cd is just changing directory. Cd to seeds class. So we are inside seed class. Then let's open our repository in VS Code. We've already opened it. I hope everyone can be able to see my screen. Is it visible enough? So, yes, do you have a question? Someone is trying to talk. So we are inside VS Code, and we want to create our first HTML file, which we'll use to write our first HTML lines of code. And we are here on our project folder. So this is our project folder. So we'll just come here and create a new file. And we'll give it a name. You can give it any name that you please. So we'll just come and say probably index.html. So there is something that you need to note. Anytime that you're creating an HTML document, always ensure that once you've named your project, once you've named your HTML file, for example, we've given it a name of index. You can give it any name. Always ensure that you end it with the HTML extension at the end, so that Visual Studio can be able to know that this is an HTML document. Also, as you'll be serving your files, it will be the browser will be able to know that this is an HTML document. The same way, so we've already created it. The same way when we are creating a Python file, let's give it a random name, sit. We usually end it with an extension of .py. So it tells, you can see there is a difference between this and this. So it tells your compiler that this is a Python file. So always ensure that anytime you're creating an HTML document, you end with this extension .html. Otherwise, you'll end up having errors. So I'll just delete this one. So we are going to look at the basic structure of how the basic structure of HTML usually looks like. So there is a way that you usually write your code in HTML. There is a format, or there is a structure that you have to follow so that your code works fine. So we'll go back to our notes. This is the basic structure of a HTML document. And a HTML document has 3 main parts. So it has the top part, which basically is the doc type, which usually declares the document type, or the HTML version that you're using. So for us, we are using HTML5. So it will tell your compiler that you're using the HTML version that you're using. So that's the first part of HTML, and it's very important that you declare the version of HTML that you're using. Then the second most important thing when you are writing your HTML files, or you're writing your HTML lines of code, is these HTML tags. So one thing that you need to know is that HTML is a language that usually uses tags, unlike, let's say, a language like Python. So we usually write our lines of code inside tags, and we'll be able to see how that works in a few. So don't worry if you do not understand what tags are. But basically, tags are just how do we call them? These brackets, angle brackets. So we've said that the first part is the doc type, which declares the version of HTML that we are using. Then the second one is this HTML tag, and we'll just do it practically in a few. So I'm just laying a bit of theory before we get into practicals. So here, from here where it's written HTML, lang English, up to the last line of code, line 18 here. So basically, this is what contains our HTML document, and it's usually nested. You can see the structure of our HTML file. you can see that HTML is the outermost part. Then all other contents are inside this HTML tag. So this is the opening tag, and this is the closing tag. So this HTML usually it's where we'll be able to write our lines of code. It's where we'll be able to write our text. It's where we'll be able to put our links. It's where we'll be able to put our images if we have videos that we have to put. So every line of code will be inside these HTML tags. So one thing that you also need to remember is, as you're writing your HTML lines of code, anytime that you open a tag, you need to close it. So for example, now that I've opened this HTML tag here, I need to close it here. And this is the format of closing a tag, where you have your angle brackets, then you have I think this is the /, then the name of the tag. That's this is the format that you use to close your tags. From there, we have another important part of HTML, and basically that's the head. So the head of your HTML document is what usually contains the metadata of your HTML file. So for this, these two are not very important at the moment, but just in a few lessons, you'll get to understand what they do. But maybe I can just explain in a few minutes what they do. So we usually have this line of code that is written meta chassis. So this one. So it specifies the character encoding for your document. Then we have this one on line 10, which is a viewpoint, and it's usually used to ensure that we have proper scaling across different devices, for example, mobile devices. Then we have the title here, which still is, now you'll notice one thing. HTML is a nested language, which means that what we mean by a nested language is we have parent elements and we have child elements. So for example, here, when you look at, we've opened the head here, which we said contains all the metadata of your HTML file. You'll realize that all other elements inside of the head element are nested. They are slightly indented. They are not on the same line as a head element. So basically that's what we mean by nested. So all of these are child elements of the parent element, which is head. I hope that is clear. So the title is the title is basically what your browser will be able to display here. You see, for example, this is the RCCG page. So we are on the giving section. Let me just go back to home. So you see the text that is written here, RCCG Solution Center, Nairobi. So that's basically the title. Or for example, here we are on GitHub, and it has displayed this text. So basically that's the title. It's what your browser will display here on the tabs as it's rendering your websites. Then the third part. So we've said the first part, that the first part of a HTML document, a basic HTML document, is the doc type. The second part, you said now it's the HTML, which basically has all your files in HTML. Then we've said that the other part that is important is the head, which contains the metadata. Then finally, we have a very important part, which is the body. So the body of your HTML documents is what contains everything else that will be shown to the user. So let me just give you an example. Now back to the RCCG page. You can see all this. Now this is the body of the website. This is what appears to the user. So this is the body, and the body is usually broken down into three main parts. We have the header, we have the header, we have the body, and we have the footer, and we'll be able to see that shortly. So the header basically is the navigation bar. You see basically this navigation links. So this is the header section of your website. Then we have the body here, which contains every other information and the layout of your website. Then finally, we have the footer, which is here. So I'll just look for a better website that is more structured than this, and we'll see how it works. Let's go back to our projects and do it practically. Any question up to there? Any question? Okay, there are no questions, so I'll just proceed. First of all, before anything, just go to the extension icon here. Make sure that you've clicked on extensions. Then ensure that you have the live server extension here. So this will be able to, as we are building our websites and as we are building our web applications, we'll be able to see the changes reflect real time. So you can be able to see what you're doing real time, and we'll see how it works. So make sure that you've installed the live server. This one, the first one with 158 million. So once you've done that, we'll just come back to our workspace here. So as I had said, this is the basic. It's the core of our HTML documents, and it's from here that you'll be able to now write other lines of code or build our HTML web pages. So you don't need to memorize all of this. We usually have a boilerplate that, and this is one of the advantages of using an IDE. It's because it comes with things that usually make your life easier. So you don't have to memorize all these lines of code. The VS Code can be able to do that for you. So all you need to do is on your keyboard, you type Shift, then exclamation mark. Shift exclamation mark, so that it can be able to generate the boilerplate, or basically the basic structure of the HTML document, which we'll be working with. So once you've clicked Shift then exclamation mark, you'll have these two options. You click the first one. So already it has generated the HTML boilerplate, and basically this is what we were talking about here. I'll just take you through writing a simple HTML document. Then we'll just do a simple styling with using CSS, so that you can see why CSS is important, and how you can be able to work with the tool. Yes.
Mine is not bringing a boilerplate even after pressing Shift and exclamation.
Okay, so go back to extensions. Then I think you need to type Emmet. I think so. Let me just confirm. Oh wait. Let me just confirm the extensions that I have so that I know where the problem is. Just a minute, I just check on the extension. There is an extension that you need to have so that it will be populating that for you. Just a minute, I just check online the name of the extension.
If it's okay, she can share her screen, and if it's an extension issue, we can tell her which to install, or if it's a settings issue, she can go to the settings and search for Emmet to allow for the Emmet abbreviations to work on our machine.
Jess, you can share your screen as I check.
Okay. So that's my screen. I hope you can all see. Okay, wait. Wait,
Anyone else having an issue?
Benjamin, it should be the settings. Benjamin, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, it should be this. Her settings. There's something.
Just go to settings, then preferences.
Yeah, somewhere there. Something should be checked.
Settings. Preferences. Type Emmet. There we see if it will come up.
here.
You've seen it.
This one's over here.
Yes, just a minute. Just a minute, I confirm with mine, then I just let you know. Scroll down.
There, you should see 3 settings on top.
This one.
3 dots on top. I don't know. I just go down.
I think it's on top where you
Yeah.
have settings.json there. Edit
Which one?
settings.json.
This one.
Yes.
Editing settings. Okay.
Mhm.
The-
Go back to the HTML file. Type that exclamation mark.
Still nothing.
there should be, you see where you are on settings, there should be three dots, and then you click and then you reset settings. Let's, and now
Nimetoka.
I don't know. I think
Is it
Benjamin.
for include languages or what?
I think your version is not the latest, isn't it, Benjamin? That could be a reason, huh?
We need to install Emmet, but I'm not very sure. I installed it a long time ago, but I'll sort that after the class, no problem.
Okay.
So don't worry, it's a very simple thing that we just need to activate. I'll sort it after we are done.
Okay.
So basically, as I was saying, you just come here, shift, then let number
Let
one.
me share your screen.
Then
You can share your screen.
oh, sorry. Can you see it now?
Yeah, it's okay.
So this is the HTML boilerplate, and we had said that it has three parts: the doc type, which basically tells us the HTML that you're running, and the moment we're running HTML5. Then this here, I'll just delete this. So this is the HTML. So basically HTML, the tags HTML will be writing our code inside these tags. So anytime that you're writing your HTML document, the first thing that you do, first of all, is once you've written your doc type, you just come and type HTML. Now, what we wanted to install for Jess, that Emmet is really important because it usually helps you to write your code quicker, because it usually has these suggestions that you can be able to just click and it auto completes. But it is also a good practice that you learn how to write these codes manually, because in case it fails, you can be able to write it manually. So you can just be able to, you can in the meantime you can write the codes manually. So after you've written HTML doc type, the first thing that you write is HTML, and here it's where we'll write our lines of code. Then there is something very important here that we need. So this LANG, it's the short form for language, and it usually tells our HTML, it usually tells the browser what is the language of the contents that are inside your HTML document. So for example, if our language or the contents that will be inside our HTML documents will be predominantly English, then we usually we usually declare that here. So this EN is the short form for English, which tells our browser that the contents of this HTML file is in English. So after that, just to save time, I'll just return the boilerplate. So these ones we've said the viewport is just how the scaling of our HTML file in different devices, like mobile devices. So when we come here, the title, it's what will appear in our browser. So let's say that you want to write, maybe we want to create a website for our class. So SIT technologies. And you write the name of the title inside these tags. So we say that you always remember to open the tag basically and to close the tag. So if you had installed a live server, you'll see something like this at the bottom of your VS Code, go live. So when you click that, it shows your output, or it shows what you're doing live on the browser. So I'll just split the screen so that you can be able to see. Now you can see the title is here, and this is the port number that our web page is being rendered. Of course, now it's offline, and that's why it has this port number 127 001 5500. That means that it's only only us who have access to this web page, because it's not online yet. So basically that's what the title does. So after that we go to our body, which will be able to, so our body, we said that it's where our contents will be, and you can see at the moment it's blank. So for example, we just want to write something very simple. So maybe we want to have one heading, and we have 6 different types of headings from H1 to H6, which because today's class I'll not really go deep into them so that I don't really confuse you, but in the coming classes we'll be tackling each and every one of them separately, so that HTML is clear to you. But for now, just for illustration purposes, let's say maybe you want to have one heading there, and the heading that we'll give is SIT class 2025. So you can see that heading is appearing here. So now it's appearing in the body of our website. So maybe we want to also have a paragraph. So this is how we write a paragraph, and we always remember to close. Anytime you open an element in HTML, remember to close it, and this is how you close it. So inside these tags, we'll just have a simple paragraph or a simple text. Hi, welcome to our SIT class 2025. So you can be able to tell our paragraph is here. So it has been displayed in our web page. So this is our web page on the browser, and a line of code. Now, as I'd explained, sorry, Sorry, I have closed my VS Code. Let me just reopen it again. I hope you can be able to see. So as I was explaining, the beauty of this live server, which we had installed here, the beauty of this live server, we can be able to see our output in real time. So as you're coding, you can be able to see what you're doing, and you can be able to see the changes reflect instantly. So again, we can decide to do something else. Probably you can decide to have an image. We can decide to have an image. So I'll just come and look for an image in my PC and just drag it there. So let's say it's this one that you want. Just come and copy the image. So we come and create a folder here, and we name it images. Then we just paste that image, that folder. Go back to our HTML. So we want this image, maybe I'll just have a shorter name, say seats. So we can just come and put the URL for this image. Basically, the URL is the path the path that our compiler will be able to use to get to this image. So our folder name is images. Then the name of our image is seats, and it's a PNG file. Oh, sorry, it was a JPG file. That's why it was not loading. So when we come here back to our browser, we can see that that image has been able to, so it has it's now it has been able to load, and we can see that image. You can see our heading. So as I had said earlier, we have different types of headings. So we have H1 up to H6. So H1 is the largest. So maybe I'll just come and copy this, paste it here. You'll be able to see the difference in the headings. So you can be able to see. Basically we have H1 up to H6. So the biggest is H1. Then we have H2, we have H3, H4 up to H6. So they usually vary in size. In the next class, we'll go deeper into how they are used and their applications. So for now, it was just for illustration purposes. You see how it works. Then we've said we have the paragraphs. You can be able to, we have the images. So basically, this is how an HTML document works. But you'll realize that, for example, this web page is very basic. It does not look very nice. It's very plain, and this is where CSS usually comes into the picture. Of course, in HTML, there is so much more that we'll be covering, but for the scope of today's class, I didn't want to really go into advanced things so that at least it's understandable. The main objective of this class is for you to be able to understand how to create a HTML document, which we said you write the name of the document, then the HTML extension, then you know how to generate the HTML boilerplate, or you know how to write the HTML basic structure, which has the HTML tags, it has the head section, and it has the body section. So we'll just do something slightly advanced in the next 10 minutes so that we can appreciate the beauty of CSS and probably JavaScript. Then in the coming classes, we'll now get to do more advanced things, and you'll be able to see how websites are usually built. So is my screen visible enough? Can you see the lines of code? Is my screen visible enough?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll just come here and delete this. So we want to just add a bit of styling, and we want to improve the look and feel of our web page. We want it to look more visually appealing, so that even as someone is coming to view the contents of our web page, or someone visits our web page, they can be able to enjoy and they can be able to have a good user experience. And that's where CSS usually comes into play. So CSS, we said it's a styling language, and it is used to boost the appearance of a web page. And as we had seen earlier, so let me just go back. We can see that this is very plain. We want something that looks good. So I'll just give you, so let's use Jumia, for example, as our case study. So when you log into this website, or when you visit this website, you can see how visually appealing it looks with the colors, the layout, how everything is, you can see how everything is structured and all that. And to achieve all this, we need to style our website so that it is not as plain as what we see here. And that's where CSS usually comes to play. So for you to be able to connect your HTML to CSS, you need to create a CSS file, a separate CSS file. So you'll just come back to where we had created our HTML, and we'll create a new file. And now our file, you can give it any name, but for me, I'll give it a common name that a lot of people usually use. So I'll give it style. And again, as I had said earlier, the same way when you're creating a HTML document, you usually have the .html extension to tell your compiler that this is a HTML file. The same thing as you're creating your CSS file, you need to also have the CSS.css extension, so that your compiler can be able to know that this is a CSS document. So already we've created the CSS document, and you can see the difference even with the icons here. So already we've created that. So we need to link this CSS file to HTML. And how do we do that? We come here to the head section, where we'll be able to, which contains our, we said the head section contains our metadata and our links to external resources. So we just come here and we write a new line here. So we'll say link, then we'll give we'll say that we'll tell our compiler that this is a style sheet, which basically is used to style our HTML document, and we'll give the link. So href basically is it's basically referring to the link of it's a reference that is used to refer, basically to refer to CSS. So it's where we write our link, and the name of our CSS, the name of our CSS is style.css. Then we close. So this is how you link your CSS files. And once you've been able to do that, so we'll come here and delete this and write something different. Always remember that HTML is nested, or HTML, we usually follow indentation rules, which basically, as I had said, a parent element usually has child elements, and those child elements usually, they need to be inside the parent element. So for example here, our parent element is body, where we want to be able, so you can see here, so it's plain. So this is our body, the white space that is here. So we want to be able to put some information here. So for it to reflect well, it needs to be nested inside the body element. I hope that is clear. So we can come here and just create a simple navbar. So to create a simple navbar, we'll just write header, which basically is used to create navigation bars. So for now, don't worry too much if you do not understand these tags. In the next few classes, probably in the next 3 or 4 classes, they'll be much clearer. So just follow along as we work on this, and maybe we'll just give it a title of so we'll just or instead of a header, let me just use let me just write nav, so that this one is usually easier. Then I'll have a list of the elements that we want in our navigation bar. So let me go back to our browser, back to our RCCG page. And this is what we are trying to create. We are trying to create navigation links like these ones. So we need to have a list of navigation links. So for example, home, founders, ministers, givings, and all that. So let's come and create that here. So for now, don't really worry about the code. It's not very important for this lesson, but in the coming lessons, I'll be explaining what each lines of code usually do. Let me just leave this blank. So we'll give it home. I'll just come and copy this first one, paste it here, change the second one, maybe I say about us. Paste this one, then I say gallery. Then the fourth one, maybe contact us. So basically, we've been able to create our nav links, and we can be able to see that here. So as you can see, we've already created 4 nav links here. But again, as I had said, it's very plain. It does not really look nice. And this is where the power of CSS comes into play. So maybe I'll just add one more thing here. So I'll just come here and maybe have a header section here. And I have a title. I'll give it H2 so that it's not too big. Then I'll say welcome to SITS. I'll have, so we can see it has appeared here. So we have a title. Then let's have a paragraph. Maybe so we have just a small paragraph here with a small write-up here that we've been able to populate. Then so now I'll come to my CSS, and I want to now make this website look or this web page to look slightly better. So I'll come and style the body. So again, as I had said earlier, at the moment, don't worry so much about the code. We'll be dealing with each code separately in each class, so don't worry too much if you do not understand the code. So maybe I'll come and decide the font that I want to use. Maybe I want to use let me use Arial, which is usually common. So you can see it has changed. So you can notice the difference. Before, this is how it was. After, it has changed. I can come and add a margin here, which basically is so let me put a margin of 0. Let me put a padding of 0 also. So I can decide to change the background color. So let me put this green. You can see the color has changed. I can decide I don't like that green, maybe I want orange. The color has changed, maybe I want purple. So let me stick to this for now. So now that we've done that, I can just come here back to our I can come here back to our HTML document, and maybe I can give this navigation bar a class name of navbar. So for now, just follow what I'm doing. Don't worry about the code. So let me change the background color of our navigation bar. Let me have it as blue. You can see it has changed, so it's now blue, but our website is still very ugly. So let me come and change maybe the colors, so because you see the colors are not very visible, the text colors. So I can just come here and change the text color. Let me have white. So does not pick white. Okay, so I can come and change the padding. So I want the elements to stay at the top. So that's what I'm doing. Then maybe the position I want it to to stick to the top. So I'll just come and style that. So I think for now we are good. So let me now come and do a bit of styling to this navigation links. I want them to be horizontal instead of them being vertical. They don't look very nice. So I'll just come here and reference my class name. So we'll be talking about in the coming classes, you'll also get to understand what classes are and how they're useful in basically designing the importance of classes in front-end development. But for now, don't worry so much about it. So you can see I've changed the background color. So I've given it this brownish color, but doesn't look nice. So let me probably change it to red. I want the color of my elements to be white. Let me change also the padding. So you can see I've been able to change the layout. It was before it was vertical, now it's horizontal using this styling feature here. So I want them to be let's say in the middle. So I'll come justify content, maybe say middle here. So when you look at this website, it still has these bullet point icons. I don't really like them, so I can come and remove them. So already we've been able to remove that. They are no longer there, but the spacing still does not really look nice. So we can come and further change that. So maybe we'll just come and change the spacing so that they are not close together. Now you can see we've been able to change the spacing. So I'll come back to my HTML page and maybe I want to add an image. So that's probably the last thing we'll do because of time. Then in the coming classes, we'll be able to build better websites. So for today, it was just illustration purposes, what HTML usually does and the power of CSS. So let's come and add an image here. The same image we had put. I believe by now it has reflected. Let's see. Not yet. Let me see. Oh, okay. Now we've been able to add an image. So this image, I don't like how it looks. So probably you can just also come here and do a bit of styling to it. Maybe I can change the border radius so that it's not, the borders are not so straight. I can just come and give it maybe a radius of 12 pixels. And you can see here, the border radius have changed. They're not as straight as they were. Maybe I can say that's too small and I give it a border radius of 32. So when you come back here, we can be able to see the border radius has, but the image is still towards the left, so it does not really look nice. So maybe you can just come and change that. We add a margin, maybe 10 pixels, and padding, let's say 10 pixels. So when you come back to our image, you can see it's no longer towards the extreme left. Maybe we can say that that's too small. Maybe we give it a margin of 40, and you'll see that the space between the extreme left and where the image starts has improved. Also, we can see that there's a space between this paragraph here and the image. So basically, this is the power of CSS. So maybe we want, anytime that we are hovering on this navigation bar, so this is the last thing that I'll do. We want probably they can be able to change color, or we can be able to tell. For example, if I'm hovering on the about navigation link, maybe I want it to become color green. So let's see how we can be able to achieve that. So maybe you can just come here and say, so our class was navbar. So let's give it green. Let's see if we'll be able to see a difference. So you can see anytime we are hovering on these navigation links, we can be able to tell which navigation link we are in. So basically, as I had said, HTML is used to give the structure. So this is the HTML where we can be able to define the layout of how our page is. But with HTML alone, our page is very basic. So this is where CSS usually comes in to help us to be able to style our pages. Of course, this web page is still a very long way to becoming visually appealing, and there's so much there's so much that we can be able to do with CSS to just improve the look and feel of this website. And the reason I wanted you to create this project, it's because we shall be improving this page slowly by slowly, and in a few classes you'll be able to see that it's a very good website that looks very well. But now you'll realize that in as much as we have, for example, these nav links, they do nothing. So this web page is basically very static. Now, this is where we were talking about the differences between a website and a web application. For us to be able to add functionality to this web page, that's where we'll need something like JavaScript. So JavaScript will be able to give functionality to this web page in such a way that for example, if we wanted this link to perform a specific function, for example, we can just change this to order. So for example, here, assuming this was a food website, you want it to be to perform an order operation where you can be able to order food. So when you click here, it can probably generate the menu for you. It can be able to generate the payment options. You can be able to pay online. You can be able to track your page. Now you can be able to add that functionality using programming languages like JavaScript, and also you can also be able to do that now in the backend using languages like Python and all that. But for now, because time is not on our side, I think I won't really get into JavaScript today. Maybe the next class, as we are improving, we shall be able to learn more about, probably I'll introduce JavaScript. So any questions up to there? Any questions? Okay, so in the next 3 minutes, we can just push this code to GitHub so that it can be accessible to everyone, and you can be able to clone it and just improve on it slowly by slowly. So we open our terminal here, and if you remember from Bobby's class, let me just wait for this terminal to open. I usually prefer CMD, but you can be able to use any terminal. You can be able to use PowerShell, anything that is good for you, or anything that you find easy for you. So we just we come here and we just add what we've been able to do. Once we've added, we come and we commit our changes. So we'll commit using a very simple message here. Sorry, I hope you can all be able to see my screen. So we'll just come here and write a simple commit message, and we say this is our first HTML class. We've already committed, and it is telling us that we have 71 insertions, and we have 3 files. So basically the 3 files that we have, so what this line here means, we have 3 files which are here. We have the image sit.jt, this sit image that we had uploaded. We have our HTML file, and we have our CSS file. Then we have 71 insertions. Basically, our HTML has 39 lines of code. No, our CSS has 39 lines of code. Our HTML has 29 lines of code. So I believe if you count all these lines of code, they'll come to 71. After that, we just push to GitHub. So it's git push upstream origin, then our branch name, main.
Try and close the file, Benjamin.
Oh, sorry, I think it was a spelling error. That's why it was. So let's wait and see what happens. As we wait for it to push any questions, so it has already pushed to GitHub. We can be able to confirm that by just using this command git log, which tells us so it tells us that the day and the time that we were able to push our updates, or what we've been able to do to GitHub, and it shows us the message that we had put in our commit message, which is somewhere here. So this is the message. So if you go to our GitHub, we can be able to see that it has reflected. So maybe I can just come to this branch. And you can see that we have updated something 1 minute ago. So you can always come to this repo and clone it and improve on it slowly. So I think that's it for today. Thank you for attending today's class.
Thank you, Benjamin, for that very elaborate explanation, detailed and elaborate explanation. So I think we've taken so much. We have offshooted by like 20 minutes or so.